Hi, everyone. This is Hal Krosman with Screenwriting U, and today we are going to be going through 8 ways to write better action. And this is important. If you've ever been to a bad action movie, like, like if you ever went to an indie action movie where somebody was doing it for their first time, or maybe the director wrote the movie, they hadn't really thought about it, they were just splashing some cool action scenes up there. You know that sometimes you can have amazing action and very little meaning. So, part of what we're going to find out today, right off the bat, we're going to be looking at Bourne Identity as our example. Uh, we're going to go first to the 3 steps to great action scenes. We'll be talking about meaning there. Then, 8 different ways to write better action scenes. And from there, we'll talk about the upcoming class, Writing Killer Action Scripts, that if you're an action writer, could change your life. Because basically, what this comes down to is how to write stuff that really does have a chance of selling. So let's jump into it here. In any action scene, you're going to have the pre-action, what happens right before it, what triggers it, what points to the meaning, what creates things. You're going to have the actual action and then the post-action. Now, again, this is really important. There are things that each part of this does. So here, let's go to it and you'll see. With Bourne, the setup, Jason lost his memory. He's desperately out there trying to find out who he is, which was a really interesting concept in that particular situation. It was relatively new at that point to have an action star, somebody who had all these special training lose their memory. After going to his safety deposit box, he finds that he has 5 different passports. So just when he thought he was going to find out who he was and it was going to give him the answers he needed, it became an even bigger mystery, which was, I thought, brilliant writing. That led him to his apartment in Paris. Now, let's see what happens here. So, the pre-action. Jason and his driver, who will ultimately turn into his girlfriend in this situation, arrive at the apartment. The landlady recognizes him as Jason. And for Jason, what that does is makes him feel complete, right? It's like he is Jason Bourne. He now knows his identity. She clearly recognizes him. That's a pretty good thing for him. He and Marie now survey the apartment inside, which we'll be to in just a moment. And everything seems totally okay until a man breaks through the glass door and begins shooting. So this guy shows up with his little Tommy gun or whatever it is. He's firing like crazy left and right. It might have been a Uzi, by the way. I'm not really sure. Uh, and then they get into this fist fight. So they're both fighting, and this is the first time you see it. It's like they're using the same style, right? If you've watched enough action stories or if you've been in martial arts, you know that different styles fight in different ways. These two are fighting in exactly the same way. They're using Kali, which is one of the Filipino martial arts. And they do an incredible job at it. But just this fact actually becomes a setup, a hint towards what's coming up and why these two might be fighting the same way. At this point, we have no idea who Jason is. He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know what's going on, but somehow he knows how to do this. He finally wins, but the hitman then jumps out the window and falls to his death, so they're not able to extract information from him. With that, they find the hitman's pouch, and there is a wanted poster. And I actually let me see if I can just back up. And there you go. There's the Jason wanted poster, and then here's the Marie wanted poster, and it's got pictures of Marie, a whole series of different possible pictures. Uh, and there's a major revelation that comes out of this, which is the pictures came from inside the embassy. Now, if you know that, they were just there the night before. Suddenly, this guy standing in front of us has these pictures. This was back before all the social media stuff. So that meant somehow it got to him, somehow it got to Paris, somehow it got in that door, and now they know they're wanted. Now, again, take a look at what this single action scene did, because it wasn't just action. First, it was set up in a way that Jason and Marie got in there. They felt totally comfortable. They now feel like, okay, they can pause. It looked like there was going to be a romantic moment between them. And now we have all this interesting stuff coming at us. Somebody breaks through the window. That's pretty serious. Either that's some desperate crazy or it's somebody who clearly knows what they're doing. Suddenly they're in this fight. They both have the same style. And then at the end, we have this new revelation that the pictures came from inside the American embassy. That's not just it. As they go down the stairs, we find out that the landlady has been killed. This whole thing was pretty well organized. So it's not just the fight, it's the two parts that happened on both sides of it that moved the story forward and had us be more intrigued, right? Pretty amazing when you think about what was accomplished there. So they're now being hunted by CIA assassins. That's the other part that they now know. This is not just, a small thing. Somebody's coming after them and they're really well organized. So let's now talk about it from your story. Take a look at your action scenes. Can you set them up better? So this means the story is demanding the action. One or more sides is either going to win or survive, right? So it's important. There's a need that absolutely must be filled, which leads to the action. And that need, by the way, demands action. So it's not a thing of, oh, people just get in a fight for no reason. There's something going on here. You want to give it meaning in advance. So before we even get there, we're trying to discover the meaning. If we look back at the Jason Bourne one, it's, he's going through this whole process. He's looking for who he is. Everything that just happened in that fight, in that situation, points to who he is, which is the other part. So why does it matter to the characters and to the journey? You want to make sure you have that. And that's what I was actually talking about. Jason is on this journey. He's trying to solve things. He's trying to figure it out. Everything that just happened there points in the direction, whether he knows it or not. So then you want to create a plan and see if it works, right? So the plan that they have is to resolve some kind of need. Jason and Marie are there to resolve a need. They're there to find out something. And it looks pretty good. And so you want that hero taking action based upon that plan. And by the way, whatever plan they have is most likely going to be disrupted by the other side. So this part makes it so your story isn't so predictable. It's like they step in to do their plan and it's going to be disrupted in a unique way. It's going to show us something about the other side. It's going to shock or surprise us and the character, which brings us to the next part. The action either happens by surprise or by plan. So if we were on the other side, and let's say in the Jason Bourne situation, we were actually on the side of the guy who's breaking in the window and coming in. It's like he's on a mission. He's come from somewhere. He got the notification. He went and set up and did the prep. He's been watching this hotel or the apartment. And now he goes through that. So in his case, it would have been by plan. On Jason's side, it's by surprise. Hope that makes sense already. And then you've got some kind of unique action, as in there's some kind of new action. There's something that's out of the box on it. It's something that we haven't seen before, if possible. Or it's the same action, but in a completely new way. It's like, yes, in this case, they're fighting, but they're using a style of martial arts that at that point, most people hadn't seen. And then how can you take it to an extreme or go opposite or use unique weapons? And all of that keeps it surprising. It keeps it fresh. It keeps it interesting for your audience. So now, number 5, escalate the action. And there's lots of ways you can do this. The easiest way to think about it is fist to knives to guns. And we didn't get that far here. Oh, we went guns, actually. And then it became more personal when it became fist and knives and all that kind of thing. But you want to just be thinking, is there some way you can do this? If you looked at, there's a lot of movies where it starts with fist and it goes to knives, and then goes to guns, or goes to something else, different kinds of weapons that we hadn't seen, or those kinds of things. Another way is to go from one attacker to many to hundreds. In the case of what we just saw, it's only one attacker, but part of what they did escalate the action, but part of what actually happened there also was we got some different meaning out of the situation. So it worked. 6, then twist the advantage back and forth. And this means if what you had, let's say we had the guy breaks in and Jason knocks him out right off the bat. It's like, okay, well, that was short and to the point, but also there was no time that we did this. If you go back and watch that particular scene, you'll see it looks, in the beginning, it looks like the guy's got Jason, and then Jason gets the advantage. Then the guy gets the advantage. Then it looks like Jason's beating the shit out of him. And then the guy pulls a knife. And then Jason pulls a pen. And they're going back and forth. We've gone from fists to knives. We've gone from guns to fists to knives. Winning, losing. What this does is this causes the audience to experience the hope to fear, to hope to fear, and it makes it more of an emotional journey, which is part of what you want. I don't know if you've ever sat there before when, watching, like I was in a movie at one point where I had a chance to interview the producer afterwards. And they had 4 car chases in a row. The first 3 I thought were well set up. When we got to the 4th one, there was nothing. There was no preparation, no nothing. It was just like that one just kind of came out of nowhere. And I remember sitting there thinking, why are we watching this? So I asked the producer, and he said, well, we were shooting it, and the director wanted something new for his reel. And so he shot this extra scene. And it ended up getting put in there by the director when he was doing his final cut. But it actually kind of made it feel like the movie was already over, and it was slow and meaningless because we really didn't have any of the kind of thing that we're talking about here. We just had what he thought would be a cool, action scene where they're going back and forth and all of that kind of thing. Number 7, the characters had to fight for this reward. I want you to keep this in mind. Anytime there's an action scene, those characters are fighting for something. And yes, maybe they're fighting for their life, but in the story, your job is to set it up so that something good comes out of it. And it might just be relief. It might be, okay, they're finally safe. But if you can make it mean more than that, that's a really good thing. And it's absolutely worth it to go back and look at your action scenes and say, what were they fighting for and did they get it? Um, so 7, what has been revealed? And this is part of what they're fighting for. Something gets revealed in the midst of this, right? Again, go back to this. The fact that these two guys had the same martial arts style means they were likely trained in the same way at minimum, or they might have been trained at the same place, and which is what the situation is here. The guy who just went through the window is a hitman, an assassin, just like Jason is. They've both been through the same program. So you're looking for what has been revealed. What has the character learned? What did we just learn about the opposition? Because we did. And whether it's negative or positive, make sure whatever it is important, right? If we come out of it going, oh my God, there's no way to win, that's pretty valuable and it's important. Yes, it's negative. If we come out of it and your hero is damaged and they can't walk or they can't fight or they can't, they lost their weapons or whatever the hell, whatever negative thing is, make it important. It needs to matter. If they lost their weapon and they already won and it's over, that doesn't make any difference. But if they lost their weapon and now they're going to have to go fight somebody else, that does make a difference. So, okay. Now, number 8, what has changed? And this is the other part. Something has to have changed. If we go through this fight and nothing has changed, it was just like, well, why? So it could be there's more motivation to fight. If it's the very first one, we could come out of it and the character, that could be when your hero decides to take the fight to them. It could be that the situation just got better or worse. The plan either succeeded or it failed. There might have been a new insight into the villain. There might have been a complete change in plan. It might be that all of a sudden we discovered something that now the hero has to solve another problem they never expected to have to solve. So yeah, make sure that you follow these. Now, let me just say something else because this is kind of important. I had this happen. I was talking with a guy who ran the contest, one of the big contests in Los Angeles, that was probably successful for 10 different years. And he said this. He said, the problem that most people have is that they write, they emulate what they've already seen, and that causes the action scripts to be derivative, to be considered cliche, right? I'm presenting today Bourne Identity, but if you go now and write a movie exactly like Bourne Identity, you won't get more success. You might get a chance to kind of practice the skills, but coming in the door in this industry, you'll have a hard time. And in fact, it'll just be turned down if they've seen stuff before. So you need to be able to think outside the box, right? And you need to be able to see things and look at things and create things that you hadn't seen or had created before. So let me take you over and I want to show you something here that is a method for this. I believe in being able to brainstorm however it takes, whatever it takes for you to be able to do that. And a big part of this is about you being able to think outside the box, to think outside what you normally think. Now, if you're one of those people who is incredibly lucky, and let's say you were involved in some action experience at some point and you saw something we had never seen, maybe you already have it. But if you're not in that situation, then your job is to create something new, something we haven't seen before, something that is going to cause your audience to be mesmerized, right? So let me just show you a way to brainstorm that can change things for you. And by the way, up front, let me just say this. We don't use AI to write scripts. We don't use AI to do rewrites or any of those kinds of things. We do use it to brainstorm. So let me just kind of walk you through a way to do that here. And this is for the people who join us in this class that's coming up. I'm going to be giving you this set of prompts right off the bat so that you can create possible projects immediately that really do have a chance. So what this is about is creating outside the box. Basically, what I did was I just made up an idea here. I just did this like 5 minutes ago. Special ops team gets trapped behind the lines while on a rescue mission and must find their way out. This is just like such a bland and typical idea. So what I've done on this is I've asked AI to give us three different versions. And this is just a way to look to see. By the way, if you have something new and unique already, then it's going to help you fill in a lot of the blanks and we'll end up making it absolutely amazing. But let's start with this. So it gave us a high concept. I won't go into it for details. It gave us the conventions of action because I specifically asked it to, and I defined all of these. Here's a demand for action. Here's the mission. Here's the escalating action. Here's our hero in this case. Here's an unbeatable villain. And then I ask it also to give us some key action sequence that could go with this story. So this is just a simple way to brainstorm. Let me just show you the next part. There's three different ones here because I've specifically asked for that. Now, let me tell you, when I'm brainstorming on AI, on anything, I do everything I can to make sure I don't get overwhelmed because it has a tendency to dump a lot of information on you. So part of how I don't get overwhelmed is I only do three at a time. And I really look at them and consider them and think about it. The other part is because I've got it set up so it's very clearly defined what we present or what it presents to you, and you'll be able to make choices quickly and easily. So now let me take it to the next step. Then I just want to show you something here. Let's go with this one. Just a moment. So again, this is the project if you wanted to look at it that we're about to take to another step here. So again, it's got the concept, the conventions of action, so it makes sure it fits the action, and then some key action sequences. Now, if we go down here, what I've asked for here is for it to give us characters. And this is just a light version of the characters so that you could actually see them and decide what you like and that kind of thing. But it's given our hero, in this case, and told us what their unique skill set is, what their motivation is, what their secret or wound is. Then it gave us the villain and told us why that villain is unbeatable, what their plan or goal is, and what if he loses, what he loses if the hero survives. So the villain is going to lose something if the hero survives. Now, before we go any further here, What you'll be doing is you'll be looking at this and going, do I like this? Does it fit my concept? Do I like that motivation? Anything you like, you keep. Anything you don't like, you just delete it. If you don't like that, just delete it and use your own creativity to fill in whatever you like. If you look at it and go, no, this villain doesn't work, you can actually go back and ask it to give you another one or another version, or you can spend the time brainstorming yourself. Ultimately, you're going to bring all of this into the class and start with a project that is well formed. Last thing I wanted to show you here. So I also ask it to create a 3-act structure for this particular project. So you can go through, read the opening. This is the first act, by the way. Then the inciting incident, then the first act turning point, right? So it's building a story for you. And again, if you look and you go, you know what, I don't really like this as a turning point, no problem. Just copy the thing, paste, delete whatever you don't like, and improve it. We aren't trying to do everything AI tells us. That would be ridiculous. Your job is to use this as a way of brainstorming and thinking outside the box. And by the way, sometimes AI will present stuff that, well, it's been seen before or stuff like that. The particular prompt that I'm using actually increases the chance you won't have that problem. But that's your chance to, again, bring your own creativity to the table. The last time I did one of these, here's the second act, by the way, and then finally the third act. The last time I did one of these, I probably deleted 75% of what came up. I kept the things that I liked and I brainstormed all the rest. And what that gave me was in about an hour and a half, it took 5 minutes to create this whole thing, and then about an hour and a half for me to go through and build in all of my ideas. Now I've got a story with structure, with some characters, with the concept that works, with the conflict that I wanted, with all the conventions. I've got that story in an hour and a half instead of what used to take me a week or two. That's the difference here. So backing up just a moment, let's go back over here. You won't be using Born Identity. You'll be brainstorming and creating something outside of the box. What I'm giving you is incredibly easy ways to do that. It's, the key to success here is not only what I just showed you, being able to think outside the box, being able to create something new and unique, being able to create in a way that you can move much faster as you go, but your job also is then to master the professional level action model, and let your creativity flow through that. So let me just walk you through that. For those of you who decide to join us for this class, you will get the 2 prompts that I just showed you, or 3, or however many it is, within an hour after you sign up. So you could, I'm waiting right now on Cheryl to come back so that we can put that up for you. But within an hour, we will get you the prompts and you can go in and start creating projects right now. What I recommend is that you create one today and then work with it for the next couple of days, then come back 3 days from now and create a second, then a third, then a fourth, then a fifth. You can do this again in 5 minutes. So let's say you created 5 before the class starts. By the time you got there, you will have gone through a lot of different action stories and picked the very best. You will actually be better at action because you went through that process, but you will also be coming in with the best of 5 or 10, however many you create, which gives you a better chance of selling. So let me show you how this works. If you like today's session, this is something that can change your life as a writer, as an action writer. This program has has 14 different lessons that all happen over the course of a month. You will come in with the project that you created. You'll go through and make sure that it's the strongest it can be. So you will essentially bring in a project and then go through our model to make sure you hit all the beats. From there, then you'll be working with your heroes and villains. And you'll notice on the AI, I just had 3 different parts of the characters. Here, you're going to have much more because what we're looking for up front is that you can sell those roles to actors. Very, very important. So from there, then it's about choosing the engaging mission. You may already have it. If you already have it from the prompt, then now what you're going to do is flesh it out to make it even cooler, even more interesting, even more compelling. Now we go into, with that mission, into creating your plot. And so your plot's going to happen in 3 different tracks that you're ultimately going to bring together in the 4th. The mission track, you already have the mission, but you will now see, you'll look to see how do you play this out all the way across the whole story, right? The mission is given to the hero in the beginning. They say yes to it. Now they go to the location. Things are happening. Everything that happens one step at a time. How does that mission play out? How does it get subverted? How do you be able to then have the hero end up somehow making the mission happen, even though it looked impossible? On the villain track, you're going to look at this villain and start asking up front, who is the villain? How can you build them in all the way across the story? How do you have them be present, really, even when they're not on the screen? How many different ways can you make their plan play out across that story in a way that is incredibly interesting? Then you're going to look at the action track. And here, what you'll basically be doing is asking yourself, how many just different action scenes do you need across this whole story? And how do you make each one something that intrigues us, adds the new information, changes our viewpoint, sends the character to the next level, puts them in as much danger as is necessary in that situation, and each one of them escalates in some way. So by the time you get to your plot, it is clearly an action story. It's not a drama. It's not something else. It's an action story. Your plot is all action: mission, villain, action. You're going to combine all 3 of those, and pretty much every scene in some way will have one of these 3 or more. From there, now it's why do we care? And this is important. If you look at like John Wick, if we started at the beginning of the 2nd act, he kills like 87 different Russian guys. If we didn't care, we would just call him a serial killer or a mass murderer. But because we cared, they set it up so we cared. The writer did an amazing job on that. By the time we got there, we were on his side. We were rooting for him. So then it's about twists, turns, reversals, betrayals. If you're writing action, this is another thing you've got to become a master at. Now, let me tell you why we put this lesson here instead of over here. Because first we want to get these key things in here. You've got your whole plot built at this point. Now we come in and you can look at your entire plot and find all the right times to put these in. And it makes a tremendous difference, especially once you master these. From there, I'm going to give you a series of action emotions. And let me try this again here so you can see this. There we go. So here are some of the action emotions: suspense, fear, shock, anguish, intrigue, right? There's a whole bunch of different action emotions. I've got 10 of them where we are going to define them out so they're really clear. So for instance, if you were asking, how do I create intrigue? I'll give you an exact definition of how that shows up in a scene, in an action scene. And then I'll give you an exact how-to in one sentence. We want to make it as easy as possible. I asked at one point, I asked a teacher, how do you create intrigue? This is back 25 years ago when I first started writing. And he talked for like 5 minutes. And at the end of that 5 minutes, I still had no idea how to do it. So by the time you've done this lesson, you will know exactly how to create every single one of these emotions inside your action story. And it'll be something that is just crystal clear to you. Lesson 11, now you're going to compile the entire action story map. Then at that point, now we're going to go to great action scenes. And I'll give you an exact layout for what goes into great action scenes. And so you can make sure that you hit all the necessary beats. You use all the emotions that you think will make a big difference for the audience, and you make it as compelling as possible. Then lesson 13, and this one was because we just had so many people who texted me this question. They said, how do I write action on the page differently than other genres? So we've got 5 ways to write nail-biting description that just reading it, anybody who reads it will feel the emotion. When you read action from great action writers, they're doing this stuff constantly. And that makes a huge difference. The other thing we'll add in is formatting for action. There are certain ways to format different types of action that actually makes it more compelling on the page. Now, when you put all of these together, when you become a master at each one of these, which you will, by the time you've gone through this class, what will happen is you will create your own project. You will use every single one of these sets of skills. It will be the best script you've ever written so far. But as you use these skills, you will also master them. And when you get to your next action script, you will be an even better writer who is an absolute master at this. When I go back to the guy I was talking with the contest, he said 80% of the scripts he saw were missing multiple parts of action and what makes it a great genre. That's 80%. I'm going to tell you, we did a contest at one point where we had action stories in it. There were probably about 3% of them that I thought had a chance in this industry, and it was because of this kind of writing. The other 97% might have done okay in a contest, but just wouldn't make it inside the industry. So this could change your life in a big way. This class starts on March 31st. That gives you time to brainstorm a lot of different projects, so you'll pick the best. Let me say one last thing on that. Project selection is your most important decision. So if you're trying to sell, if you just want to write action and you're going to use anything that just pops in your mind, no problem. But if you're trying to sell, when you make that first set of decisions, the ones I just showed you whenever we did the brainstorm session, when you make that first set of decisions, those are the decisions that either make your pitch great or make it weak. So it is worth brainstorming 5 or 10 different projects and pick the one that has the best chance of selling. Pick the one that you think you could pitch the easiest and bring that into the class on March 31st. At that time, you're going to go through this, and I promise you, first, you will love what you learn, but even more important, you will love what it does to your writing. Normal price on that is $199. This class is absolutely worth it. It will save you years of trying to figure out all of this stuff. It took us, our development team, we had a development team filled with action writers. 4 of them had been produced. It took us almost 5 months to build this model. So if it took us that, where we're working together, they know what they're doing, I know what I'm doing, think about how much of a difference this is going to make for you to be able to learn it all in 1 month and then apply it to your writing. So special prices, or the normal price is $199. Special on this, and this is for the first 10 people, you get in at, let me just check. $129. So that will save you $70 on the class. I promise you this class is worth it, even if you paid full price or more, which you won't ever do that. But it's absolutely worth it. It'll make a tremendous difference for your writing. Just write this down. This is the class link, bit.ly, bit.ly /SU as in screenwriting U action class. No spaces, no capitals, no dashes, just bit.ly, bit.ly /SU action class. Put that in a browser where you normally put your web address, click return, and you begin this journey. Again, for those of you, as soon as you sign up, we will get you that prompt along with the pre-training information so that you can start creating projects today. So it's great hanging out with you guys. I hope you already got a lot out of this. I promise you, this program as an action writer could change your life. We have writers who have been making deals. We've had movies made. There's a movie on Netflix playing right now that came from this class. So if that's something you want to do, take the steps with us and you will absolutely love what it does for your writing. With that, this is Hal Croasman wishing you the absolute best in your writing, and I'll see you in the class. Bye-bye, everyone.